Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a very serious and important topic that has to be discussed, other than the incorporation of the city of Elk Grove, California in the year 2000, is that women today are being taught, or what we're finding out is that during that period of time, the opposition, my opposition, is by, how you say? All right, let's leave that out of the picture. Let's just say this. They are the discovery that is being made that they're trying to cover up and not only cover up, but fold and twist to their own material benefit. So basically, for example, me, I have nervous tics. Like sometimes I bite my nails, okay? Um, my eyebrows, when they stick out, it bothers me, you know? And that comes because I've been confined, like, I have responsibilities, you could say. But don't even, guys, what is my responsibility? To be myself, okay? So shout out to the people that are taking notes on the city of Elk Grove. To be myself, it had to be incorporated because if not, I probably wouldn't survive. So we had to find out why. And they had to say that it's because I was a bad guy. No, ladies and gentlemen. So listen, please. They're teaching women to train their children to be a certain way or to act a certain way. But it's those same women's egos that are doing that. And they're blaming some guy or whatever, some guy. You see, so that's a death spiral going on. Because if you don't teach your children to be themselves, and if you yourself try to set your child to behave a certain way, right? To be like a robotic, biological robot soldier, you're messing up greatly in life because that's not how, like, it's possible, but that's not what it's for. Same as a handgun or a firearm, or a knife. That's not what it's for. Like, there's knife is to eat food or to carve out wood, you see? But it's not to, like, to, you know what I'm saying? To, like, carve a pipe or something, But, like, what I'm saying is that there there are kids today that are growing up like that. Like, they're literally betting their whole lineage on, let's say, my child's going to do this and he's going to be programmed like this, and I'm going to play him like a robot, or how you say, like a battle bot, in Real Consumers Correctional Center, or here, worse, here in the city of Elk Grove or Sacramento, California. So that's the thing about this incorporated city, is that, and the uniqueness about it is that we have found out and know how to keep track of what's going on with the human body, not only physically, but socially. And we have perfected it so we can patent it, like, not even patent it, but it's like paradise, right? And that should already exist. But why is it that it had to be incorporated? Because there was discrepancies, obviously. And that's where they're trying to keep you away from the history of the United States, history of the world, the dynasties of the past. So we have advanced to this level, and we have to make a full discovery. And there are people that are not, that are getting in the way. Not only getting in the way, but they have already created a lot of damage. Like, they've taken me out, you could say. Because it should not have been like this. People were expecting a lot more from me by now. But at the same time, those same people, if I was to do that, those same people would be targeted in a way, in a horrible way. And they would that would be extreme evil on my part. So if I was to just be like my opposition and just go along and get a job and act like everything's okay, or start, programming with them or whatever, and living their life, or like living a life or whatever, and just doing what you hear, obeying your auditory hallucinations. No, ladies and gentlemen, you have to think critically. You have metacognitive, recollection. You have all these skills in your brain, like that your mind is capable of, that people are trying to um, manipulate. They use colors, they use symbols, they use locations and identities, like all these like a lot of handles on the YouTube platform that just make no sense. You see, the YouTube platform is not for that, ladies and gentlemen. It's so that way people can get diagnosed, so that way people can return to being human. That is something that somebody past had to die to bring to us. Like, a lot of people had to die to make this possible. But that's where it goes, guys. What makes you think that you are that which dies? So they knew, like the people working for like construction, or the people that have a lot of people on them, like the engineers and then their team and their crew, those people need to have their security, their social security, like they need to have their stuff set. And some people, in order to get into their females whatever, they that's they use the social media, the like P Diddy, like artists, like all this distraction, like 102.5 KSFM radio that doesn't play any real anything that we really need. You see, because they want to keep their salary. Really, at this point, they just go there to get a salary because they're not really doing anything, and to them, that's considered freedom. They don't have to work. The same thing goes for when I was in high school and people didn't pay attention to uh, in photography class, or in the engineering class that I took or whatever, or the um, like working on CAD projects on the computer. Very good. That was a genuine education right there. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, to the females out there, if you have a child and if you indoctrinate your child a certain way, you're throwing away your lineage, and you cannot blame that on the Becerra family, or on the Cachu family, or anybody that is similar non-molded, has a similar non-molded agenda, because that's what you guys have been doing for a long time. You've been blaming us for that. And the city of Elk Grove had to be incorporated to prove it, to prove that we're playing the pinnacle of human existence. Because we don't exist, ladies and gentlemen, without the city of Elk Grove's incorporation, without being able to articulate what is going on. Nothing exists here. There is no reality. Without no measure, and without no mark, there will be no measure. And ladies and gentlemen, we have to every day represent and say that mark has already been there. It's been made. We don't need to have more. So, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you can see common denominators in your local area, and or in your social community group or whatever, and you can find better ways to articulate the factors that affect your environment, right? Or the factors of the field of your environment. Now that we know about how auditory hallucinations, how these, how the opposition makes auditory hallucinations possible. So once again, I was at Real Consumers Correctional Center. Individuals contacted me, one through writing, one through a phone call, none through visiting. So that way, when I get out in the similar jungle or whatever, the similar So for example, Rio Consunas, there's a barracks that's outside, and then there's a 300 pod, which, or like there's an inside, how you say, there's an inside warehouse of people, right? So where you don't really get sunlight, you don't see the outside. No fractal, no visual factual other than yard time and looking up at the sky. And that's resembling like the suburban side on the my mother and father's side of this real estate development. So people already knew what they were looking for. And I'm so when they built this, they knew what they were looking for. They did not have any doubt about what they were doing. They were 100% one way.